What's up guys, John here. Eviction moratorium is about to be signed back into law in Los Angeles. No rent increases, rents to be frozen, no evictions to unfold even if a tenant fails to pay.
The legislation calls for a moratorium on evictions for tenants affected by the fires and a one-year pause on rent hikes through January 2026.
Also, they're unable to evict if the tenant doesn't want to pay and also wants to bring in other guests or bring in animals. All cards are basically off the table. Landlords, they're going to have no options, no alternatives over the fires. City of LA is simply saying, hey, look, landlords, because of this situation, we need to take away your ability to manage, operate, and control your property. Now in 2020, people thought that was a one and done situation and it was never going to happen again.
Protect tenants and homeowners. Governor Andrew Cuomo signs the Emergency Eviction and Foreclosure Prevention Act of 2020.
I'm telling you, things are really going to heat up. Everything is about to change. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about kind of the big changes that are coming and what we all need to do to prepare for it. Because I think things are going to really heat up. Now, I own a property in LA. I developed a small student housing project next to USC, and I sold that property in the height of the market in 2021. At that time, everyone thought that the world was going back to normal. I thought the opposite. I thought interest rates were going to start going up and the world was going to get harder. And I thought over the long haul, it would be pretty hard to operate that building efficiently, and I'd be better off selling it. And I think that is coming true. And I think we all need to get ready for this. So what I find very interesting is I'm seeing all these real estate brokers, people in the media, everyone's going on mainstream talking about how landlords are price gouging and taking advantage of the poor people of the Pacific Palisades, Brentwood, Malibu.
People who've lost their homes and looking for places. And I know the prices have significantly increased illegally.
The landlords, right? They're going to put their houses on the market even if they didn't want to, and they're going to charge a premium, which is an unfortunate thing because they think that the insurance companies are going to be paying for this.
I was on the MLS and I kept seeing these up arrows, and I never see up arrows. It was not a strong rental market. You don't have people increasing their rents, and I couldn't believe it.
And that's a very easy position to get behind. And a lot of people would say, look, that is wrong and that is unethical. And I see that. I can agree with that in some capacity. But if we're looking at the things, the thing really clearly, we should take all things into consideration.
Getting sick and tired of rising food costs.
Prices at fast food restaurants are on the rise. Decades high inflation, the oil industry facing political backlash, where Democrats accuse the companies of price gouging.
And in the case of big insurance and big pharma, consumers and taxpayers are getting ripped off.
Now, when you own something, in my belief, you should be able to do what you want with it. If you own a car, if you want to sell it or don't want to sell it, if you want to give it away for $1 or sell it for $1,000, it should be yours. You should be able to do that. Now, when you look at literally every single business, in some way, all businesses operate this way. There's market demand, and the market demand and supply will, have a high bearing on price, what you're going to be able to actually get for this item. Think of cancer treatment drugs. In many cases, it might cost them $1 to produce, or $10 to produce one drug, but they'll sell it for $20, $30, $50, $100,000. Why? Because the market will support it. You go to the hospital, you get saline, you get Advil, they're charging you 100 times what it actually costs. Why? Because people have no alternative but to pay for it. You go to a baseball game, you go to the an NFL game, they're going to charge you $30 for a beer, even though the true market value of that beer might be $2, $3. Why? Because the people will pay for it. Now, what I find very interesting is how everything changes when it's the little guy that owns a house or a duplex or a fourplex and they have a couple of apartments. Now there's price gouging. Now the government needs to step in and control what you can and can't charge. But here's the big caveat. Here's this big curveball coming that a lot of people aren't ready for. Insurance in LA is going to double or triple, I can promise you, over the next couple of years. Now, they say this moratorium they're proposing is for 1 year. So rents cannot go up, you can't evict, basically have no property rights for that 1 year this goes into effect. Yet, the costs need to be eaten by the landlord. So you have to ask yourself, how does that work? How does it work? Many of these landlords are struggling financially. They're struggling in LA. And they have been for years because of the policies that have been enacted over the last 5 years, right? Now, the big question is when does this stop? does this actually stop? Because I'm a big believer in capitalism. I think capitalism is the best for everybody. You know, you are paid in direct proportion to the amount of value that you contribute to society. If you're out there building all these housing units, you know, you're supplying food at large scale, you're doing something at scale and you're helping a lot of people, you should be compensated for that, right? Not penalized for it. If you penalize production, there will be no production, right? And that's exactly what's happening in LA. That's exactly what's unfolding right now. They're positioning these fires, all these problems as, look, we need to combat this problem for the greater good. And it's not the mismanagement of, you know, people in charge. No. Those people are now going to set out a set of rules and guidelines on your property to tell you what you can and can't do with it. It's pretty crazy to me. Like, I always wonder, like, when you see stuff like this, where does it end? Like, look at this house right here. Older house, right? But on this street, there's nothing but beautiful, beautiful modern homes that were, you know, probably flipped or bought by, you know, wealthy people that make money online. If this person bought this house here for, say, $50,000 10 or 15 years ago, and all these wealthy people move in, and now the home prices around here are $700,000, and they want to sell their property, maybe to an investor for $550,000 or $600,000, and they make $500,000 or $400,000 hypothetically on that sale, are they price gouging, or did they make an investment many, many, many years ago? They took a risk on that investment that paid off, and they're paid in proportion to the risk that they took. I'd argue that that's their equity. They deserve the value of that property. Their retirement should be secured because of the investment and the risk that they took, right? So I always have when you hear these things like that they want to combat inequality and do all these things, they're doing it at the expense of the middle class, right? The rich are getting richer, nothing else. Rich are going to get a lot richer in the next couple of years. You know, I love California, and I love those beautiful beaches, Carbon Beach and all these beautiful areas, but not enough to where I would sacrifice my entire life's work by investing in multifamily real estate there, saving up the money to put down huge down payments on all these properties, and then dealing with the city that basically views me as the enemy, and they're looking to screw me every which way that they can. I wouldn't live there and invest there for that purpose. I would travel there. I'd spend, you know, a month here and there and go there, but I wouldn't invest my money there. And I think a lot more people are going to be of that mindset in the coming couple of years, because look at this house. Cleveland would never imagine homes like this 4 or 5 years ago. Now they're like everywhere. All these modern, beautiful homes, they're popping up all over the place because so much money is flowing from people that once had that mindset of, look, I'm only going to live in California. People are getting pushed out of California. Landlords are going to get pushed out of California. These investors are saying, you know what, the risk isn't worth, you know, the lime's not worth the squeeze. So we're going to see this huge shift unfolding with a massive exodus happening in California. And I think we're going to see the great real estate taking unfold on duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. Everything is going to be about climate. Everything's going to be about making these properties more sustainable. And landlords are going to have a hard time pushing those costs on the tenants with rent freezes and all these new protocols and laws that are likely going to be coming. So I think we're walking into this major, major shift in this country that I think a lot of people aren't yet ready for. This shift is going to be the affordability migration, where people are going to be moving to places they would have never imagined because of affordability. Last couple of years, everyone was talking about, you know, the passport bros and going to Bali and going to these different places. That's only going to continue to grow as the cost of living goes up. We're going to start seeing people leaving New York City and San Francisco, LA, these really, really big cities. And why? They can't afford to live there. Not going to afford to live there. So people are going to be relocating to places where they can afford to live. Retirees are going to be doing the same thing. It's going to be this huge shift. You have 35% of the US workforce now working remote. As things get crazier and developers are getting pushed and squeezed in every direction, from interest rates and insurance, the government overreach, to all these different things, it's just going to get harder. And you're just going to start seeing millions and millions of people relocating all over this country and all over the world to try to survive. That's my bet. And I made this bet in November 1st when I first moved here. So far I've closed on 5 houses, closing on a retail center on Friday, retail below, 2-bedroom apartment above, and we have a couple other deals on a contract right now. Because I'm a big believer that affordability is going to be a big problem going forward. Owning affordable properties is going to be the place that you want to be. That's my belief. That's where I'm putting my money. I believe that everything is going to be about affordability, and I don't think there's many affordable markets left in this country. And I think things are just going to get a hell of a lot harder. And now, when I see these stories on the mainstream media about how everything is about, these landlords being the predators, these landlords taking advantage, and this is from like prominent real estate people saying that these landlords are predators. Well, it just goes to show the conversation being had it's no longer a conversation about capitalism, because people are afraid to go out there and talk about capitalism and say that yes, you own a property, you should be able to rent it or sell it for whatever you want in any market. It's like this car. Let's say you own this car right here. If you own that car, well, let's say you own like this car or like a Rolex or something, and it got discontinued and people are willing to pay an arm and a leg for it and they have to have the car, you'd probably sell it for whatever the highest bidder would pay you for it, right? Now some people say, look, John, it's different if it's shelter and they just lost their house. I mean, I agree, but I also see the other side with, look at, as I mentioned earlier, hospitals. Look at New York City with the congestion pricing, $9. Think about that. Is that not price gouging? Taxpayers paid for those roads. They paid for everything. And now with their own money, that money is now being used against them and forced them to pay again. Is that not price gouging? I don't know. I think I think nothing is what it seems. And when they say it's about combating inequality and all these different things, think about what that actually means. They want to eradicate inequality. There is zero chance that that's going to happen. The inequality thing is only going to grow. There's just going to be the have-yachts and the have-nots. There's not going to be like a middle class or like a in-between. And the have-yachts are just going to keep saying, yes, we need to keep putting more restrictions. We need to continue doing this. Why? Because it smashes small businesses and mom and pops so they can acquire and build and build and build their wealth and their fortune and their power. It's going to be like the 1700s. That's what we're going into, that type of era where it's like the Bezos and the Mark Zuckerbergs are going to be like, kings. This is the world that we're moving into. But I'm curious as to what you think. Do you think that if you own something, you should be able to sell it or rent it for whatever the market would bear in any circumstance? I don't know. I guess it's up to the individual. But I know for sure, if I had a car, I thought the car was worth to me $10,000, and someone said, hey John, I'll give you 20, I'd sell it, right? Because to me, it's worth it to do it. But if the market was bad and everyone's like, hey John, I'll give you 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, I wouldn't sell it. If to me it was worth 10, let's have a conversation about this below. I think what I'm doing here in Ohio, in a couple years time, we're gonna all look back and be like, wow, this was very forward thinking. This is ahead of the times, because when you're buying homes, not like this, these are like $600,000-700,000 now. But you could have bought these homes a couple years ago for $200,000 or more, $250,000. There's a lot of neighborhoods where you can buy homes for $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 that I personally believe are going to be a very, very strong store of wealth. I think the paper, the currency, is going to continue to lose value. And I think owning the right assets in the right locations will be key. I also think insurance is going to be a big problem in this country. I think a lot of people are going to be losing their homes due to insurance premiums going up and property taxes going up. Here, for me, the average insurance policy that I have is about $750 per year, and taxes are about $2,000 to $2,200 per year. So it's about $250 a month, give or take, maybe $300 on the property, on like the highest property. And if it's renting for $1,500, $1,600 a month, making $1,250 a month on an investment a little less than 100 grand, where are you doing that, right? Where are you doing that? Let's have a conversation below. If you'd like to learn more about what I'm doing, you can go to singlefamilyinvestors.com and click the link in the description, singlefamilyinvestors.com if you have $100,000 or more that you're considering to invest. Catch you next video.